So now we're finally going to put together the concepts that we've been talking about with elements, average atomic mass, mass number, element symbols. We're finally going to put it all together into one of the most, if you ask me, one of the most historic tables that scientists use, and that is the periodic table. The brainchild mainly of Dmitri Mendeleev. The periodic table contains information about each element. We've kind of talked about that already. The beauty of the periodic table is that Dmitri used it to argue and to explain that certain elements have properties that are similar to other elements that are located in the same region of the periodic table. So let's take a look at the periodic table, and we're going to talk about the information in each home or in each square for an element, as well as how it is organized. So the periodic table is organized in terms of groups. Groups go from top to bottom. So for example, hydrogen, lithium, sodium, potassium, rubidium, cesium, francium, all of these are in group 1, or sometimes called 1A. Beryllium through radon, all of these in column 2 are in group 2A. Let's travel over here to the right-hand side, and you see boron, aluminum, gallium, indium. All of those elements in that column are in group 3. And so on and so forth. Those elements in groups 1, 2A, 3A through 8A, those are called main group elements. Elements that are in the center of the periodic table, you see they've got little B's in front of by where their group number is. Those are transition metal elements. When we talk about main group elements, we are primarily talking about groups 1A through 8A. So, first point, groups have a number and a letter, and they go from top to bottom. We also can organize the periodic table in terms of periods. Periods, which we'll talk more about when we get to electronic configuration of atoms. Periods have just a number associated with them, and they go from left to right. So for example, hydrogen, and travel all the way over here, helium, both of those elements are in period 1. Lithium, beryllium, boron through neon, those are all in period 2. So groups top to bottom, periods left to right. And then there are 3 types or 3 main categories of elements in the periodic table. Metals, nonmetals, and those that are in between, like to have properties of both. Those are called metalloids. The vast majority of elements in the periodic table have metal-like qualities. And metals are, with the exception of hydrogen, metals are on the left-hand side, and they travel over to the right until you get to this staircase. Once you get to the staircase, then you have the metalloids or semi-metals, and then the non-metals to the right. So you should know that there are 3 main groups of 3 main types of elements in the periodic table: metals, metalloids or semi-metals, and non-metals. And know that they are that elements are organized in terms of groups and in terms of periods. So those are some general basic trends for the entire periodic table. Now let's take a look at each little home, each little square of the periodic table. And we've kind of mentioned this in previous videos, but just so we're all on the same page. So each element has its own little home on the periodic table, and in its little square, it has the 1 or 2 letter symbol. The atomic number is the number above that symbol. That atomic number is equal to the number. Its atomic mass is actually an average atomic mass or an average atomic weight. It takes into account the prevalence of particular isotopes for that species. Okay? So atomic number, number of protons on top. Atomic mass is the number underneath. It's an average atomic mass. It's a weighted average. And the unit for those masses is atomic mass units, or AMUs. So this is just another screenshot of that beautiful periodic table to further illustrate the point about groups. There are some groups that are so special that they have names associated with them. So when we say alkali metals, you should immediately think of elements that are in group 1A, so hydrogen through francium. That little star is a reminder to me to remind you that you do need to know these names, along with the lanktanides and actinides. These are transition metals, but those groups have those regions of the periodic table have particular names. So make sure you know the associated name with a particular group number. These are just some basic general properties of metals, nonmetals, and metalloids. Don't really need to know them, but it's just kind of to center yourself and to, let you know what to look for when we say if something's a metal, what kind of properties, what kind of physical properties do they have? Okay. It's more important, I think, that you know where the metals, nonmetals, and metalloids are located in the periodic table. So in the next video, so that's kind of more nuts and bolts of the periodic table. In the next video, we're going to talk about how to take those beautiful things called elements and combine them into the next pure substance that we talked about, which is compounds.